Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so excited here to do another interview with one of my beautiful clients. This is Joie, and she has been with me for I don't even
That's
know
a
how
good
long.
question.
That is a good question. I was like, a long time. We'll say that. It's been a while. Her and I were actually friends when I was doing photography. If you can see her beautiful photography behind her, we actually, I think, met through photography and have stayed friends all these years. And Joey actually does a lot of my video work and most of my pictures. And so we've been together for a while. But I'm excited to have you here because we're going to talk about the healing aspect of all of this. So, welcome, Joey. And I'm so excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, well, I'm excited to get started today because you and I have a lot to talk about.
Always.
So we set our intention today, of course, for this to, as we share our stories, I believe that we help so many people. And when people can see, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it. And so we're going to set that intention today for those to see this and watch this to see that, change is possible. Change is amazing. So tell me a little bit about why you started your healing journey or what kind of called you to this whole process.
Mhm. Oh gosh. So I've always been a somewhat self-aware person, and I think it's usually those like really hard things in life that make you have to step back. Maybe not always. Maybe someone can come that's just still stuck or whatever. But for me, it was for me, I think motherhood specifically is what kind of sparked this in me. But at the same time, like throughout my life, even before I was married or had kids, um, I was always seeking to be better. Um, but I didn't always know like what that meant or how to actually do that. And a lot of it presented in my early life as just trying to be perfect and trying to do what people told me to do. And then certain things happen and you realize like that's not really working. Like that's that's not gonna cut it. Anyway, as a mother, I have two kids with severe autism. And as a parent of special needs kids, I just found it incredibly heavy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and the the things that I believed and that I was doing in my life just weren't helping me. I didn't feel like I was moving forward. Um, but anyway, being around some other special needs moms, I was introduced to just like thought coaching, and that was my initial introduction into kind of thinking about my own thoughts and really looking, taking responsibility for, my own reality and how I was feeling and how I was doing. And it was a really helpful place to start because um, I could understand it and it was freeing in a lot of ways to be able to step back and like look at my thoughts objectively. And like Gina said, we've been friends for a long time, and I had seen her go through a certain transformation in her life, and I knew that she was more coming from an energetic, spiritual place with the types of healing modalities and stuff that she was offering. And so once it felt like I kind of hit a wall with just thought work, um, I knew that I needed a little more. And um, she was always recommending videos and books to me. And I was always reading those. And yeah, it just eventually turned into like, I need to, I need to do more. I need to talk to you. I need to make, because I knew I wanted big changes in my life and it wasn't going to be as simple as just changing my habits or whatnot. I knew that that the real change was something in the beginning that I didn't even really understand,
Yeah.
but it's crazy how it just evolves. And even right now, I can't even ultimately explain like why or how, or it's, but it's once you are in it, like, I don't know. I just love it and you can never go back, you know? You can just,
There is no going
yeah.
back, is there? There is no going back. I know for you, one of the biggest struggles when we first met, and you mentioned that you had your two autistic kids. And I think for you, that was one of the biggest things when we first started working together. That's what we really started with, wasn't it? Like,
Mhm.
um, tell me about that because I know that you've had stories where you're like, Gina just tells me how it is, and
Oh
like,
my goodness. Yes. Yeah. So I have the kind of personality type where I like to be like an authority. And so when I want to learn something, I want to know something, I like just dive in and I want to know how it's done. And um, so that's initially what I did with autism. But as any special needs parent will tell you, when you have children, and mine have profound autism. And so it's almost as if they just hold up a mirror to you and show you all all your weaknesses, like everything that you need to work on. Um, because you can't a lot of times in parent-child relationships, you're kind of just passing on your baggage. You're passing on what you've learned, how you grew up, how the way that you think and the way that you parent is just, this cycle. But once you get a child that does not accept that, you cannot put your stuff on them. And it becomes it becomes unbearable if you keep trying to do things the same way that you've always done, because they will just resist. And for me, as I'm sitting, in this place where this is what I always thought parenthood and motherhood was supposed to be like, the good and the bad, and like nothing is anything like what I thought it would be. You sink into this very hopeless, and you just feel powerless. You don't know where to go or what to do or what to even think. And so as I was introduced to healing, I realized that like I didn't have to accept that reality. I didn't have to sit in, oh, poor me, this is my life. My kids don't fit into the world. Um, and so I guess I'm just have to accept being miserable for the rest of my life. And so, and when you decide, there is a pivotal point where you either have to decide, like, I'm going to change my perspective and create the life that I want, or it's a downhill slope, that leads to just depression and self-destruction, if you keep entertaining those things. So, and by all means, it's not like easy. Like my life is not easy, but it is, I don't even know how to explain it. I just have a freedom now as a mother that whatever my kids are and however they exist in the world is okay,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean anything about me as a person,
Yes.
and I can just be in the moment. I can be a mother. I can do as much as I can do to help them have a good quality of life, but ultimately, I don't carry the burden of their emotions or feeling guilt or shame about them not being a certain way, or feeling, I don't know. It's just, I just feel so much freer to just operate in the world and allow them their experience and I can have mine, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. One of the things that I was writing, taking notes while you were talking because there's so much information right
I
there.
know it's a lot.
But there was a lot of guilt and shame that we have worked through. Guilt
Hmm.
over feeling responsible for even bringing these kids into the world. Like
Yeah,
guilty for, was it my fault? I think as women, a lot of times we blame ourselves when our kids come into the world and, they aren't perfect like what we, you know, like what we're taught is supposed to be the way that we bring these kids in and how they're supposed to show up and how they're supposed to be socially acceptable. So talk about the changes that you have went through in yourself, but also, as being a mom of really letting go of that guilt and shame, because that was huge for
yeah.
you. And I do
Well,
believe
it was.
it was like a huge moment. I still remember that day that, we were doing healing together. And that was one of those big shifting pivotal moments for you. And I do believe we're going to touch base on it a little bit, but it has made your health transformation what it is today too by letting
Yeah,
go of, like, it's all this
yeah.
intertwined. But so talk about that a little bit.
So, yeah, like I was saying before, like you have certain ideas of what you think life is supposed to be like. And I don't know if it's like this for all people, or maybe I'm extra stubborn, but it's really hard to like let go of those. They feel so real and they feel true. It feels true that whatever is happening. And I think I remember the specific event that kind of led into this breakthrough for me, which was we'd taken them swimming, and my daughter, I didn't bring the right clothes for her to change into afterwards. And so she didn't want to put the clothes on that I brought, and she just lost it, and she started banging her head on the concrete, and then she just ran naked through the whole rec center. And I just couldn't handle it. For me, my mind just went to this place of like, how can I live like this? Like just worst case scenario, like this isn't fair. Like my life is too hard. And I remember, sobbing and telling you all of these things, like, how can I ever be okay with this? And it did take, I don't know if it was one moment that I broke through, or if it took, time to kind of, for it to sink in that, like, because Gina would give me really tough love, and she would be like, who cares? And I'd be saying these things like, oh my gosh, all the people saw my kid running through and how embarrassing that was. And you just be like, oh well, like, what are you gonna do? You would just like throw it back at me over and over and over, until it was finally like, okay, I'm the one who cares. Like nobody else really cares. Like I'm the one who gets to, decide what this event means for me in my life. And that being able to let go of those ideas of guilt and shame, that I just thought, like, this is the way you're supposed to think about life, like who wouldn't think this is hard? And obviously it was hard, but like I didn't have to live in that space of like, my life is so hard all the time. And like, and even to the point where, and it's so freeing now that, I could think of like the worst possible case scenario and I could still be okay.
Yeah,
And what else could you want in your life? You know what I mean?
nothing.
So yeah,
I think that's what healing offers us is it's not that about life is perfect for us. It's
yeah.
our reaction to everything
Mm-hmm.
going on the outside. And yeah, there was some tough love days. This is part of healing and coaching to me is like, so why are you so worried about what everybody else is thinking? I'm more worried about what's going on inside of you and your reaction to all of this. And how can we make this easier for you? And I think that's
Yeah,
where we got with all of this is like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about here. Sometimes it does take hard, that hard, the hard love thing to like really get
Mm-hmm.
through because we want to think that
Yeah.
the whole suffering is part of this and that I'm just going to have to
Mm-hmm.
suffer the rest of my life through this. And, you know, this is
Yeah.
just the way it is. This is how my life
Mhm.
is. When in reality, everybody's going to think what they want to think anyway. It wouldn't
Yeah.
matter if she would have had a perfect day. Somebody would have said, "Oh my gosh, did you see her
Yeah.
swimsuit?" Like, it's like
Hmm.
she let her
Yeah.
come out of there in that like
And letting go of needing everyone and everything around me to change. That none of that had to change. Only
had to change.
I wanted to change because I wanted to have a different experience in relation to the people and the things around me that were happening. And so it's just so empowering to
Yeah.
like to have that and realize like, and that was something that I had to learn over time too, was that healing did not mean nothing would ever be hard again. It just
Right.
meant that I had so much more capacity to like ride the waves of life and not get sucked in to the storms, but just, be able to see them in different ways, the ways that I want to see them, I have all the power.
Well, let's talk a little bit about because you and I spoke, I think it was after your last session that we just did a couple of weeks ago. And we've come so far because we came from my life is terrible and these
Yeah,
kids are
crisis. Yeah.
terrible. And I can't believe this is my lot in life. Like, this is what we're going to do too. You just went and spoke to the autism board, I think, this last week.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to talk about that if you don't want to, but that was huge in itself. But we also talked this last time about empowering your kids to have a different experience and really start manifesting the life that you wanted and desired. So talk to me about taking Dempsey to the dentist because I think that's where you went with
Oh,
her.
okay.
You had
Yeah,
forgotten about that, hadn't you? Because I was like, oh, we need
yeah.
to talk about because we've came from running
Yeah.
through the rec
Hmm.
center naked to this is where we're at today.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, I guess even though you and I have been working with each other for years, it still surprises me every time, like how this journey, there is no destination. It's just a constant like peeling back of layers and learning how to shift your perspective and how to create the life that you want. And because sometimes like we'll be talking about something and I'd be like, I feel like we've already talked about this, like why is it coming up again,
uh-huh.
like. And so even though like I've had breakthroughs in the past, like now as I come up against new things in my life, like it's almost like a challenge, almost like, okay, how am I going to unravel this thing? It's almost like it's fun in some like weird way,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, the latest thing has been like trying to broaden my view on just how I believe my children can exist in the world.
Yeah.
And so we had a big, long discussion about what that could look like and challenging my current beliefs. And actually, part of what I have been working on in myself is like really just putting the most ridiculous thought out there and say like, why not? Why couldn't it be
Why
true?
not? Yeah.
And so in terms of my children, it was, I was holding those intentions inside of myself. And I think it was it the same day that we went to the dentist or the day
I think it
after? I
was.
can't
It was
remember.
that afternoon. We
Yeah.
had our session
So,
that morning and then that afternoon.
yeah. So my kids are teenagers now, and the dentist has always been super challenging. I mean, dentist is challenging for, neurotypical
Anybody.
people,
Yes.
so kids. So, um, but and it was they moved to a new office, so I was like apprehensive about, oh, this is a new office, like I hope everything's gonna go smoothly, and like literally we just walked in there, like, and my kids are very limited verbal, they only use one or two words to communicate ideas, and they get overwhelmed and overstimulated like pretty easily. And so when we do anything in public, I'm just always kind of on alert, and making sure they're okay. But that day at the dentist, it was just like nothing. They just did. They did the x-rays, they did the like there was no a lot of times I can feel their anxiety like welling up, and I feel like, oh, they're gonna resist. But like my daughter literally like giggled the whole entire appointment. She let them scale her teeth, use the all the tools, which she normally doesn't. Like, it was just like, how is this so easy? Which is another thing that you and I talk about, which is like, why can't why can't I just believe that things can be easy? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why is it so easy, or why is it any different than thinking things are hard? Let's just assume they're going to be easy. And like, yeah. And so I was just amazed, so I had to text you, right away. Like, that she
I
had done
loved
that. So
Yeah, I loved that text message
yeah,
because you're like, guess
yeah.
what just happened? You're like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to believe it. And that's exactly what we
Yeah.
talked about that day. I was like, why does this have to be a certain way? I think so many times we go and read things and we hear things and we're told the
Mm-hmm.
doctor tells you, oh, they're just never going to be okay. They'll never be verbal. They'll
Mm-hmm.
never be all these things. And I'm like, who says?
Yeah.
Who says? Who decided that? And does everybody fit in that same mold?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the answer is no.
Yeah.
When we start
Well,
talking
yeah.
about what everybody is, so can my kids be capable of something different?
Yeah. Well, and I think the biggest hurdle for me is I'm the one who put limitations on them
Mhm.
because I'm with them so much. And so even our day-to-day experience, I kind of get in ruts of just thinking, oh, this is just the way that it is. And it takes a little bit of conscious effort
Yeah.
to not be on autopilot, and remind myself like, no, we can do hard things. And we have, like, over the past 2 years, we've gone to amusement parks and on airplanes and done things that I never thought that we'd be able to do. So
Yes. You
yeah,
have.
it's
You've
amazing.
taken your kids some places that I remember there was a time when you would not have even considered
Yeah.
even purchasing a plane ticket for these kids
Oh
because,
yeah.
the social
Yeah.
interaction, having to be out in society like that was
Hmm.
just way too much. That was way too nerve-wracking. And then the thought of what could possibly happen why we've got these kids
Yeah.
out in that much
Hmm.
social interaction, like, is a whole other
Hmm.
thing for you. So yeah, I love how far you have come on all of this. We actually talked about this in the section. I said, what if I limited you as a healing client? What if I said, oh, Joey was
I
only
know,
able
huh?
to do, she'll never get to the point, and never allowing you to blossom into that. And I said, if I don't do that to you, why would we do this to your
Hmm.
kids? Like,
Yeah.
because to me, this healing and having this bigger vision for my clients is so
Hmm.
important. Like, seeing them living these happy, amazing, joyful lives and not being so tied down by the day-to-day stressors and life, in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You forget the possibilities always exist. They
yes.
always exist. But you just, you get in ruts and routines,
Yeah.
and you're just, a lot of times because of the nature of autism and the way that they are, like, a lot of times my nervous system is just like, let's just remain calm. Let's not try anything new today. You know what I mean? And so, it does take, and that's another thing. And I don't know if it's unique to special needs parents, or probably anybody that's dealing with any kind of trauma or
Yeah.
crisis, or health, you know, things that you now I forgot what I was gonna say.
Just the nervous system. You were talking about the nervous system and dealing with the nervous system in a different way.
Yeah.
And dealing with
Anyway.
special needs. Yeah, dealing with special needs versus, I think I know where you're headed with
Hmm.
it. Like, I think a lot of times for you forget that, even parents, even kids that are not special needs, parents still have the same issues that you have every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that we talked about just on a different level. Do you know what because I
Yeah.
think all these kids are beautiful and unique. And, even
Hmm.
myself having 4 kids, I've had kids with different needs, different, having to react to them differently and learning how
Hmm.
to react to them and take myself out of the middle of this.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Like, as a parent, like, you become so aligned with your children.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not, maybe everyone doesn't, but when you want to be a good parent, you know,
Yep.
and especially in my special needs kids, I've realized like over these years that the more that I care for and heal myself, they they are better without me even doing anything.
Yes.
It's like this energetic circle that we have as parent and child. And so even now when something changes with them and something seems off with them, I now more tend to go internally and be like, is there something off with me? You know,
Yeah.
because they're kind of like my barometer, they're my gauge to say like, you know, mom, if you chill out then we'll chill out, you know. Like,
Well, the dentist was a
so
good representation of all of
yeah.
that. Like you were chill, they were chill, everybody was
Hmm.
chill. Like,
Yeah.
and that's unheard of in any of
Yeah.
your dental visits or really anything that you've
Yeah.
ever done.
Yeah. And I think even on a more general scale, like when you're working on yourself and you're healing, you do see your relationships transform
Yep.
without even actively working on the relationship. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, because you're showing up in a different way,
Yep.
and those around you either respond to that and step up or just fall away, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. Let's talk about the changes that have, this is a good lead into the changes that have
Yeah.
happened. We'll start with you first because your overall health and wellness has skyrocketed in the last year, year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's talk about the changes there, that have happened energetically for you and, because that's huge. That's big.
Yeah, so I struggled with my body image and my weight pretty much my entire life,
Mhm.
throughout, early adolescence um, being over, I think at my highest, I was 270 pounds. And looking back on it now, it's clear to see what was going on. But when you're in the middle of it, you can't see it, But all of that weight was just a very literal carrying of all of these emotions that I'd never processed my whole life. Like I was really, really good at suppressing and not just feeling and letting things, process and pass through me. I was stuck in beliefs of, like you said, suffering, that I was supposed to suffer, um, that somehow was showed how good of a person that I was, because look at how well I can carry these hard things. But obviously my body was like literally carrying all
Mhm.
the things, you know what I mean? And it just came to a head a little over a year ago. And I can't exactly explain what happened because I had been working on it for so long that I was almost like exhausted of even thinking about it. And there was part of me that knew I can't keep doing it the way I was doing it. Obviously, that wasn't working for me. The way I was thinking about it, the way I was framing it, the way I was trying to, white knuckle and just like
Mhm.
control like everything in my life. And so I don't even know. I mean, and at the same time, I had some challenges in my marriage, and something just clicked for some reason, and my appetite completely changed. It's like I just I couldn't be that person anymore. I
Yep.
had to be a different person, and so yeah, over the past like 15 months now, I guess I've lost 125 pounds.
So impressive.
Um, I, but even more than that, like my entire relationship with food, my entire way that I even look at life and look at pleasure and look at um, relationships, and just all of it has changed. And I wish I could like say like these are the steps you take, but really the steps are, you just keep working on your healing. And
Hmm.
it's almost like this weird house of cards. And you're just like pulling these little cards and seeing what else will collapse with it,
Hmm.
because everything is so tied to it. And I think there was a part of me, part of my soul that knew all of my self-esteem and my self-image and my body image issues like were underpinning everything in my life.
Yeah.
And if I could just peel the layers back enough to get to those, like it was just gonna collapse so many other little things that I thought were problems,
That
that
are
aren't
not.
no longer problems. And yeah, I just find myself as like a totally different person. And it's amazing. And I also have so much love for myself and for my old self
Yes.
because I was doing the best that I knew how.
Yeah.
And my old self was the one that got me to my new self, So
Mhm.
she deserves all the credit too.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong where we've been or what we've been through. That's the part that I think we all get so hung up on is we think there's the wrongness in it.
Yeah. That I
Everything
need
is
to fix
perfect.
myself. Yeah.
Yes. And everything is perfect for us right at the right time. And we discover, just like you, it's like all of a sudden, all of this stuff has just clicked. And I see for you, I feel that belief in you too. If there is no going back, this isn't going to change for you. This isn't shifting
Yeah.
for you. This is the new version.
Yeah.
And I don't even like to say the new version, but the version of you that has always been there, that has now been uncovered. And
Yeah.
because this isn't a new version of you, this is just a deeper,
Mhm.
more
Yeah. She was just
profound.
waiting for everything to align.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I just have so much more grace for myself.
Yeah.
And for as obsessive as I was about, diet and exercise, it's like not even about that anymore. Like it's just wild. I can't even explain it, like
We talk about that all the time. How
yeah,
many times have we talked about this? Isn't about diet and exercise. This is about
yeah,
shifting you from the inside out, and then everything else shifts with it.
yeah,
Like, diet and exercise, great. If that's what you want to focus on, it works for a while, but you can only white knuckle it for so long. Like,
hmm,
and do you really want to white knuckle it the rest of your life? I don't. Like,
yeah,
because I'm right there with you, shifting
hmm,
that weight, shifting. I don't want to white knuckle it the rest of my life. I want this to feel so easy.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what we talk about every single day. It's easy. This gets to be easy. This gets to be a place where we just don't even worry about it. And it is just the new norm for us.
Yep,
So, um,
yep, it's amazing.
yes. So, one of the things, talk to me a little bit about, were there fears along the way? We talked a lot, especially like with letting go. I know you're like, today, this has been the topic for me today. We've been talking about fears and stuff.
Yeah.
So, what fears have come up for you and how have you been able to work through those?
You
Um,
mean in like my healing journey
yeah,
in
just
general?
in
Yeah.
general, just in, if you think of anything, I know there's probably several, but
Yeah.
fear to
Yeah.
me seems to be a big deal right now. A lot of people are living in this fearful place. What are some of the fears that
Oh
have
yeah.
came up for you, and how have you been able to, or how have we been able to work through them to help you come to a
Mhm.
different understanding?
Oh, for sure. I very tangibly would feel fears, especially in my sessions with you, because
Yes.
you would challenge me so much and it would bring up those parts of me that were like, no, that's not true. Like I
Yeah.
can feel the literal resistance like in my brain of like, and just talking to you about I don't know how to let this go, and you just like trying to to just walk me through it. Um, I'm trying to think of like
The
uh
specific.
yeah, something specific. Um, I don't, the only one I can think of, I think it actually did have to go, and it was recent because even though I did transform my health this year, a lot of it was still kind of going back and forth with like really wanting to control my diet and everything like that. Um, and so it's only been in the last like month or two that you've really tried to push me to like let that part go.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling very specific resistance to, but no, this is how it's always worked for me. And this,
Uh-huh.
how can I, that's the truth for me. That is the truth. And so trying to work through those old
Mhm.
belief patterns
Mhm.
because they are they are ingrained sometimes, and they really fight hard. They do not want to let go
Mhm.
without conscious effort and just kind of relaxing, and being in your body and just really being present with yourself. So yeah, that was a big one. But um and I don't know if I've talked to you since, but yeah, I haven't been doing any kind of any kind of diet because because my challenge was to like eat what feels good to me.
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been doing. And, nothing adverse has changed or happened.
Isn't it amazing
So,
how that
yeah,
works?
yeah. So I feel like I'm still working through there's like, those old intrusive thoughts that still come in that like, make you panic or something like, oh,
Yeah.
but we need to control this. Like, we should be doing this so yeah, it is an interesting exercise, but one that I welcome
Mhm.
because I already have seen evidence of change in my life. And so I know that it's worth just walking through those fears. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Yeah,
it's like going on a roller coaster. You're like,
it is.
it's scary, but it's like thrilling.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to put it because that's what this is a lot like. It's like, and I challenge you. I'm like, okay, what if it could be like this? And you're like, well, no way.
Yeah,
Because it is true. Here's the part that we get hung up on. It is true that if I eat a certain way and do a certain thing, I can get results.
yeah,
But it's freaking hard and we can't
yeah.
stay in that
Exactly.
area for the extended period of time.
Mhm.
And to me, when we talk about overlasting health and wellness, this should be something that we can stick with
Yeah.
for the rest of your life. And who
Yeah, am I
wants to
having
white knuckle it?
even though I'm getting the results I want, am I having the experience that I want to have?
Right.
And is there a way to get what I want and have it be
Have
easy?
experience.
Like
Yeah,
can I
because
even entertain the possibility? Like
food is part of our lives.
right.
And we want to be able to go and be able to go out to dinner and not feel guilt about that or shame. And we shouldn't feel guilt or shame about that. And to be able to go and eat in a way that, feels honoring to us and not white knuckle it every day. To me, I know when I started this, and I've told you this, the only rules that I made this time were whatever I did had to be something that I could stick with long term and it felt good and it felt easy. And those have been the only rules when you start following a lot of health gurus and they're like, no, you should never do this and you should never do that and you should blah.
Mhm.
It's like that feels so constrictive to me. Like,
Right?
but allowing ourselves to have this freedom, oh my, like that's a
Yeah.
gift that keeps on giving.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
well, a lot of things have shifted for you. Your relationship with your husband has shifted through all of this. Like you've had so many amazing breakthroughs. Um, I just want you to know I'm so proud of you. You have done amazing work. You continue to show up. You continue to do the work, even when it feels scary, even when I challenge you and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But what amazing breakthroughs you have. And to see the woman who sits here in front of me today versus, and it's not that it was ever a bad thing, the woman that you
Right.
were before, but this is such a more relaxed, loving, kind version of Joey. Um, it's beautiful to watch from my end. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I appreciate you so much. Like, yeah, I don't even I don't even think I would have I couldn't even see my own potential without you. And I still can't sometimes,
To see more of it.
You're the one always like pushing me to see more and want more and just be open to everything. And it's been priceless. Like, yeah. I
Well,
love you, and I'm so
I love you
grateful for
too.
you.
It's yeah, this is the gift that keeps on giving for sure. Like
Yeah, and because you've helped me, like that ripples out to
mhm.
my family, to my business, to my marriage, like, so I hope you understand like the importance of what you do.
I this work to me is there is no it has to be. It has to
Yeah,
happen. We all need
yeah.
this gift. We all deserve this gift.
Hmm.
So, my final question for you is what advice would you give someone who is wanting to start or feels like this call to nudge forward to do something different? What advice would you give them? Because it's not an easy thing to do, and
Yeah.
our egos will talk us out of it every day over and
Hmm.
over and over. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give someone?
Honestly, just just keep following it, whatever that looks like. Just keep reading the books and listening to the podcasts, and I feel like in my life it kind of ebbs and flows. It goes in waves. Like there'll be weeks where I'm just totally intense on learning and studying and growing as a person, and other times my energy is elsewhere, and it's more about processing and relaxing and resting and incorporating things that I've learned. And but just if you do have that desire, or there's something in you that's like, I want to have a different experience in my life,
Yeah.
and you don't even have to think that your life is broken, or that something needs fixed. It's just like, I just like to experience what else there could be for me, just explore that, whatever it looks like. I don't believe in coincidences. I think things show up for you, even if there's stupid memes that you see, on social media, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did that know what I was thinking just now?
Exactly.
Like the universe and God, and whatever you believe is out there, like, is just holding you up, and just wants everything for you. And it's so worth whatever fears you have to face, or big decisions that you have to make, it's funny because once you're on the other side, you realize like that it's nothing like you thought it was going to be. Like, you look at, oh, I want to do healing, or I want to do therapy, or I want to do this, but I don't have money, and I don't have time, and I don't know. You have all these ideas in your brain, and these beliefs and these thoughts. And if I could just tell people, and a lot of times, like, I'll have special needs moms that come to me that their kids have barely got diagnosed, and they're just starting this journey, and they're asking me, because I'm 15 years into my journey of, like, what do they do? Where do they go? And literally the first thing I tell them is, this is going to be the hardest part, but you have to take care of yourself.
Yep.
Like, you have to. And that doesn't mean like, buy yourself chocolates and take a bubble bath. Maybe sometimes
No.
it does mean
No.
that, you know what I mean? But it's like, you really need to find a way to make peace with yourself,
Yeah.
because it's the only way that you will, for one, survive being a special needs parent. But more than that, you will realize like how amazing of an opportunity it is
Yeah.
to be a special needs parent. And because I feel like the universe always has opposition, so the greater the challenge, the greater the payoff, if you can get to the other side of that,
Yeah.
and you can see your life in a different way. All of a sudden you realize, like, holy crap, all of this amazingness has been here this whole time.
Yeah.
But I also get like, it's hard. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard in the moment. It's hard on your nervous system. You still, you have your physical needs you have to take care of. And
Yeah.
so, but just keep pursuing. Yeah, my advice is just keep pursuing that need in whatever way that you can.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if you have the opportunity to find it, to work with someone like Gina, like, it's like, you know winning the jackpot or like finding the cheat code for life.
Finding the cheat code. We can get there quicker. We can get there quicker a lot of times if we allow people to lead us and guide us. And it's
Yeah.
not that we
And
can't get
challenge
to
us.
it the
Yeah.
other way, but
Hmm.
we don't challenge ourselves like someone else will.
Yeah.
We don't.
Well, we can't even see because I
Yeah,
mean, you probably get this every time people come to you and they don't know what they want to talk about. They think, "Oh, everything's fine," and then you say, "Oh, what about this?" And then all of a sudden, like the floodgates open, and you're like, "Okay,
how
that's what
about
we
we
got to
talk
talk
about
about,"
this today? Yeah,
because you
that,
just don't even know what's going on in your own life and your own soul. You need an outside perspective sometimes to be like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that is one of the gifts of all of this is being able to go, yeah, how about we do this today? Yeah, because this is where I think we need to
Yeah.
go. Yeah, yes, beautiful. Well, I appreciate you so much today, Joey. You, I know, are making a difference in this world every single day by the work that you're doing, and it's rippling out into so many other little avenues in your life. And so I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate you sharing. And thank you so much for being so open and willing to share. So thank you so much.
Course. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me, and hopefully this resonates with someone out there. And
I know that it will. I know that it will because you are not the only one. We resonate with each other on so many levels. So
yeah.
that's why we do this. This is why we share because we can give hope to the world that, oh my gosh. And I know that you did that today, just giving someone a small shred of hope
Mhm.
that, oh my gosh, maybe my life can be different. Maybe there is a possibility. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you sharing today. And we'll see you all again very soon. So much
All
love.
right. Thank you. Bye bye.